Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of HeroClix. Today's going to be a very interesting day, mainly because we're going to have two topics. One, a little bit more current events, might actually go on a little bit longer than planned, and the second is how to retrofit your meta play. So, pretty much, I'll let some folks know an interesting fact about me. I don't really watch that much TV. In all honesty, not the news or anything else. I sort of feel that advertising on TV is the equivalent of neurological mind control. That's just my personal opinion. It tells you that you need things that you don't actually need. And perpetuate the idea that you have diseases that you don't have, that just happen with aging, that you lack something that other people have, that you need to go out and pretty much spend everything that you've worked for to make somebody else rich. And that part I really don't like about TV. I don't really like the content either, and I'll say this. People say that TV is mindless fun, but we're mammals and we learn by observation. All mammals learn by observation and repetitiveness. So if you repeat a image, a scenario, a mindset, I hate to say this, a cultural dialogue, you can herd mammals through whatever they're seeing. And so you're not just talking about cattle or kangaroos or a cat. It also applies to us, and a lot of people don't think about that. And I'm not a naturalist. I've made that clear several times on the show. I'm not a naturalist, nor a humanist, but I will say this: I can recognize within my own, with a lack of a better word, theological frame, that no matter what, I'm still in a mammal body. And that has its own limitations. But anyway, sort of getting on to the point, I end up seeing a link, and the sort of Clix players around the world, and Jake Williams, aka Jada Ray, the Golden Age champ, posted a sad event about a gentleman who decided to shoot up a bunch of females because, actually we shouldn't use the word gentleman, a guy that decided to shoot up a bunch of females because he wasn't getting the sexual responses that he wanted or he thought that he should receive in life. And to the parents, if you want to skip this part, feel free. I'm not going to use any graphic language or anything like that, but if you're like, hey, you know what, I don't want my kids hearing this right now, just skip ahead. I'm not going to be offended. Heck, I won't even know. But what's interesting with this cat is his father, produced the Hunger Games. He had, BMW. He had all these things that, we are told, oh, this will get you women. And he follows, I would say, the two negative frameworks that I've seen in our culture. One is, if I'm a good guy, women will have sex with me. That's really what we're saying, is we'll be a good guy and then we'll get a wife that way, and that doesn't work out. And then good guys just end up getting mad because they see women with jerks. And I'll sort of touch on that in a second. And then the second narrative, if you listen to some of the things he wrote, is that he had an expectation that he should be having sex because he was in the college age, and that's what's going on, and everyone else is having sex. Okay, I'm just gonna be clear. I'm 31, hadn't had sex. Just gonna be blunt. Mainly because of moral imperative. Could have put myself in several situations to be in that crowd. I once I realized, when I stopped listening to most TV and I stopped listen to music and watching TV. There we go. How my overall pressure to be a guy out there, just like, you got to get chicks, you got to go do this, you got to go do these other things, went down drastically. And it started to make me think, maybe, just maybe, our culture has given this guy a pack of lies, and he believed them. And when he was completely frustrated, he went and acted out, because he did everything that the culture narrative told him that's how you get women. And I know I got like a majority male audience, probably like 99.9% male. So again, this is, sort of targeted to you all. For the 0.1% females out there, you can glean something if you're still listening. Because I'm not going to even say, like, I speak for the female perspective as well. No, I do not have that perspective. So, one of the biggest things I feel that is detrimental in our culture for a male reproductive narrative is that we are still taught being a gentleman is the best way to go interact with women. And it's really not. It's really not. I'm not going to promote douchebaggery, but I think one of the key things is that be interesting. And be interesting in that polity does not deserve you sexual reproduction. It just doesn't. So, like, look at it like this. If I open the door for your sister, does that mean that I have full rights to have sex with your sisters? Or more so, should your sister have an obligation to have sex with me? Sort of seems absurd, doesn't it? Then you can start to understand why the white knight narrative is dumb. Now, the thing is, it's not necessarily saying like, oh, be a complete douchebag. I'm not promoting that again, like I said before. But when you start breaking down of being a nice guy to get women, it's really a poor narrative. At the same time, why do women go out with douchebags or guys that are jerks? Well, one, they approach. If you're not approaching, then they're not going to talk to you. Third off, which is quite interesting, is that they do interesting things. While I love HeroClix, I recognize clearly that I am most likely not going to get a woman that's going to love HeroClix as well. So I won't ever force anyone that I talk to or try to date to play HeroClix. All right, just won't. And I have to do and learn things that are interesting. And so, metaing life, since I've spent so much time metaing this game, I decided to learn how to salsa dance. And, well, actually Latin dance. So I'm learning my bachata, my salsa, and eventually I'll learn, a couple other more advanced dances. I'm in beginner mode. I'm a noob, okay? But there's an interesting lesson that I learned in my 2 nights going out to go Latin dancing. The first night, I didn't know what I was doing. I went into the class. I felt very socially awkward. My feet weren't moving properly, and I didn't even get all the class. And so what ended up happening is after the class, even during the class, I didn't really dance with anybody. I sat back once the music started after the class because it was going into free club time. And I watched people dance for about 2 hours. And I was ticked. And I was really frustrated with myself. I'm like, man, I can't go out there. It's freaking Dancing with the Stars out there. Oh, man, look at them. And you see all these women coming out here. And they're dancing with these dudes. And I beat myself up over nothing. So I go home. I watched like YouTube for like 2 weeks. Like trying to learn how to do Latin dances. Still, not the greatest. And then, second night, last Saturday, I go out again. Dark Logos, man of action. I say, hey, I've practiced my basic bachata steps. At least I can do that. And I go to the class and I learn a little bit more, dance with 3 women in the class. Then it comes to dance time. You know what I did? I approached all 3 of those women that I danced with in class, danced with them for a little bit, talked it up, because hey, I'm a dapper young man. I have very good conversational skills, okay? And you know what? They were like, hey, cool, whatever. And they were talking to me and they were interested in what I had to say and laughed at my jokes, okay? But I could have stopped there and said, these women that I dance with in class are the only women that are going to dance with me the entire night. So I should go home. I have done excessively more than what I'd done previously. No, I didn't do that. I went and danced with like 13 more women, okay? Now, you might be saying like, yeah, 13 more women, haha, Dark Logos, really? No, like 13 different other women. Why? Because I approached it in a non-sexual function. I knew how to interact. I made jokes. And when I returned to dance with some of them again, they were like, hey, what's up? Come on, let's dance. And I was interested in them as much as they were interested in me. I provided value. Now, the guy that ended up shooting up those young ladies said he was anti-pickup artist and community and whatnot. And I can see why, because a lot of the pickup artist community is about getting laid. Not going to lie. It's about getting laid. Because I've read that stuff, and I still read that stuff because I think it's good for communication points and interaction. You don't have to say, I read that stuff and I'm going to get laid. No. Really, learning how to dance, and even in the pickup artist community, they're going to tell you, learn how to dance. I can tell you from salsa dancing in KC. And I know you might be like, but that's not where I'm at. I'm pretty much in general, it's going to be about the same. I've seen ugly dudes with fine women, but them ugly dudes could dance. Now let me replay that. Seen ugly dude, beautiful women, dude can dance. Now note, I'm not saying, drop HeroClix to learn how to dance and, all that. Hey, can if you want to. But what I am saying is, whatever, I think as it stands now, that when it comes to being a male and how to interact with females in a, I don't even want to say a post-feminist narrative, because that's sort of saying that feminism is limited in frame, when in actuality it has a full rainbow cornucopia of views that in and of itself, if you took all the theories together and put them in a room, they would fight it out. I mean, they don't all agree. So to say someone's a feminist, it's like, what kind? And to what stages? It's not just economics, and it's not just, general social status. There's, trust me, from all my studies, and continual studies because of the worlds I go into, it's feminism is not a one-headed monster. It's like a hydra that someone forgot to use fire on to cut off a head. It's all it is heads and necks. So, but when it's the male, and definitely in this stereotypical gaming world, that it's like, oh gosh, I got chicks and Wonder Woman's got her chest and cleavage showing and all this other stuff, and that's awesome. It makes it hard when you come to a realistic narrative of what am I to do? And when you look at heroes and superheroes, it's like, oh, they go in and save the day, and this is great. That doesn't translate into real life. It's a power fantasy. It really is. It's not going to reflect on how your day-to-day actions with women are going to play out. And while women like you being courteous, and women like you to be a gentleman, and those things are important, because again, I'm definitely not promoting domestic violence and beating up women, nor at the same time emotional abuse by women onto men, and that's a different story. Which, if you ever want to PM me, I can tell you stories about how I've been emotionally abused by women, legitimately. But when it's all said and done, you have to have something interesting. You have to have something else that draws that woman to say, like, you know what, that guy has value. I think I should hang out with him and invest my time in him. And then you go from there. because I'm not going to force another, you know, sociological meta on you. But definitely don't think just because someone is that let me rephrase that. Don't think just because you're nice or that you're a gentleman that women should or have an obligation to respond to you. Because look at it like this: imagine a woman that you have completely no interest in whatsoever, and don't imagine family. Just imagine some random woman, okay? Or, you know, if you're in a public place, just go look out at some random woman in the crowd, okay? She has no characteristics that you like, physically, mentally, or emotionally. But she comes up to you every day and offers you cakes. She offers you cakes. She offers you well-cooked meals for free. And you're like, yes, I really like this. I have no interest in you in a romantic function, but I do enjoy your value of cakes and cookies. And I know some people must be like, hey, Dark Logos, you put her into a stereotypical feminine role. Like, well, I have to have something where it's a deliverable. Not necessarily because of women cook, but just I need something that's a deliverable. So bear with me, please. And it's not a use of male privilege. It's just needing to have a role. But anyway, so you're loving her food, but she comes up to you and says, hey, you know, I've been bringing you all this food. You know, why haven't you asked me out yet? And you're going to be like, well, I don't see you that way. And then she gets offended and shoots up you and all your homies. That's pretty much what that guy did. So, with that being said, like learn something else. You can learn French. Man, you can be very, very interesting in French. You can write poetry. You know, I did that for a bit. Spoken word. You know, you can go out into the world and you find another niche that allows you to interact with the opposite sex and just be like, hey, you know, let's have conversations, let's talk. Because 9 times out of 10, you meet people not playing clicks. I learned that. You don't really meet women playing clicks. So, there are female clicksers, but most of the time they're married or they're not interested in most of the guys there. Mainly also because most of the guys there don't clean up either. So, and I know that's stereotypes, but I've played clicks in several states. Some things ring true, sadly. All right, so transition back in. Let's talk about how to retrofit your HeroClix collection. Now, what do I mean by retrofit your HeroClix collection? Well, primarily, the main reason I bring this up is because retirement's coming up, and you're starting to look for figures that are. You look at the figures in your collection, you say, I like playing this theme. What else from this theme can I play to make my team stronger, even though it's Golden Age? Okay. Or even though it's retired. That's a better way of putting it. So here's a prime example. This is Superman. Now, this is Superman from Origins. And this Superman is 93 points. Probably one of the cheapest Supermans ever. 93 point Superman. Okay, he's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clicks deep, which is pretty good. Now, why is this Superman out? Well, technically this Superman's been out on, actually he's been sitting over here for almost like 2 years now. I haven't put him up yet. But the main thing about this Superman is he serves a great job. He does a great job on any of my Kryptonian teams, or if I'm trying to trigger, I think it's that Superboy and Eradicator from the Superman set. When he dies, and oh buddy, does it take a lot for him to die, he makes, you know, my Superman and Eradicator boss. Now, fortunately, I had him already, and I didn't have to go out and buy him separately. But he's a great Superman. Same thing if you want to say from that same set, Earth 1 Superman, he's 107 points. Now, sort of look at this. Okay, I got a 10 attack and 4 damage. All right, leap, climb, and invulnerability, and 93 points, and 7 clicks versus Earth 1 Superman. He's not that deep. He does have that piece of my ship ability, but he sort of goes down really fast, and his damage values aren't as high. There's a lot more that I can abuse with the Origins Superman, and still proc off my Eradicator in my Superboy. Okay, so that's I give that opening example for you to start having your gears turn, because you'll look at pieces and be like, yeah, that's awesome, but is there a cheaper way of doing this? And really, the cheaper way of doing this is Golden Age. So let's start off with one key sort of thought, and my key thought is this: eBay is your friend. Let me do it one more time. eBay is your friend. Many times, people try to go to the realms and trade old stuff, and that's not bad. My main problem comes in is when you're trying to trade old stuff on the realms. Folks usually try to hustle people, definitely newer players, and saying, hey, that piece right there is really, really good because I know that you want to trade for it. So I want this, this, and this. They always go out to, for a lack of a better word, try to hustle. Okay? They try to get the most out of the trade as they possibly can. Trust me, I know. I've traded on the realms. Okay? Now, occasionally you have these great people that are like, hey, I'll trade this thing and these 5 other things for that one thing you have, and you, the person that really needs it, is going to come out ahead because I'm a nice guy. That doesn't happen too often. This is why eBay is your friend, because it's set up front if you want to do the exchange or not. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be cheaper. It's just going to be cheaper than trading. Okay, so look at it like this from an economic perspective. Let's say here's another Golden Age figure. This is Accomplished Perfect Physician. Yes, he is leaning because I had to reglue him. Okay, so Accomplished Perfect Physician is probably worth like 50 cents. Okay, if I traded another figure that's 50 cents to get an Accomplished Perfect Physician, okay, and I mailed that figure, and then the other guy exchanges, once he receives the figure, and I got an Accomplished Perfect Physician. The overall time frame is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Because you have the first person receives, and then they mail, and also your cost that you're spending for an Accomplished Perfect Physician because of boxing and materials is $250, which is quadruple of what you would have paid on eBay. Which leads me to my next thing. Go through all your major themes and make a list. Make a list. And you can make this a long-term buying list. You can make this a short-term buying list. But make a list. Please, please make a list, because I have been there. I kid you not. You think like, man, Dark Logos, he just likes just spitting stuff out just to prove that he knows something. No. I don't want you to go broke because I have lost money due to bad business decisions in this game. Just lots of money lost. Now here's why I'm saying this. Because you can get lots, or you can get from the same seller. Like, my main philosophy is, if I see a seller on eBay and I'm like, you have this one thing I want. Are there other things that you have that I might want as well, or I might need? This is where the list comes in, because then you can correspond what that person has with the list. And then you go through and you see, like, okay, this is a little bit above what I'm going to be paying from this other seller, but I looked at that other seller, he doesn't have all the other pieces that I need. So what I'm going to save in shipping, is going to be worth it, because it's going to lower my overall cost, you know, than what I would be if I just buy these from this different sellers. Okay. So I know that seems simple, but you would be surprised how many people don't do that. Just like, hey, like, buy from the same guy, even if it's slightly more expensive. You know, just buy from the same guy. So, for example, I bought a whole bunch of super rares from Glass Cabinet Hobbies. I bought my T-Ray, which I showed you all in last week. Let me take it out of the plastic. Boom. Okay, so I bought my T-Ray. I bought Tiamat. I bought Armanzola and Speed Demon. And Speed Demon's on my table back there. Okay, so I bought all of those characters, right? All those super rares. I dropped $50 for like 7 super rares or something like that. So, what happened? Well, my shipping's cheaper. Okay. I got them all in at one time. And not only that, if Ryan didn't give me my stuff properly, I could front him in the video. But but yeah, I mean, he sent me everything well packaged. And so that's the thing that you're looking at is like, all right, I got everything together. I need it. I can work with it, and we're good to go. All right. The next thing that we're going to look at retrofitting your collection is, hey, does this shenanigan still hold up with what's popular? Now, I do phrase what's popular because if anybody's ever played like a legacy format in any other game, there's always a popular strategy in the main meta, and then when you go into like legacy format, it's like, wow, how did you even think of this sort of things come up? But the one thing is, if we listen to like the older podcasts, if you've local meta'd the people that you play with, and you know, like, yeah, he's aggro, he's shenanigans, he's hyper defensive turtle, he won't come to me until he can boost up his range to +3 and +3 damage with enhancement and hammers and all that stuff. If you know who you're dealing with, it's easy to say, that will screw John, that will hurt Jane, that other thing right over there, Bill is going to hate that. And then you put it all together, and you're like, yeah, these are the pieces I need. But when you're definitely looking at a larger format, let's say if there's a big event that you're going to, the main thing that you have to look at is say, hey, all right, what's popular in the meta? Golden Age, is there anything in there that solves that? If so, how? And then, is it feasible to build a team around that now? Because a lot of old tactics, and I do mean old tactics, were feasible because A, there were no shenanigan counters. B, not only that, you were in a situation where damage output was lower or attack values were lower. Another thing that could be useful or determine if it's viable or not is, you know, clicks of life. I pointed out, hey, that 94-point Superman had 7 clicks of life and damage reduction. So he's going to last a bit if there's no outwit, hypothetically, if there's no outwit or defense negation. But you can start to see that in certain meta situations, he's going to be great. In other meta situations, he's not. Another great figure that I like that was highly popular when I was playing him was Chief. I think he was from Crisis. Chief from Crisis. The great thing about Chief from Crisis was this. He had outwit, support, I think he even had perplex, outsiders, and the ability to remove action tokens when he used leadership. Like before you could. Like he still, I think his power still works where he has potential just to remove action tokens. So even with things now, he actually got upgraded. Now the big thing about Chief is fragile. He's a little old guy in a chair, in a wheelchair. So if you hit Chief, if you push Chief on support to support twice, he doesn't have support anymore. And if you keep pushing Chief, he will die. Also, your opponent can just run up and like slap Chief in the face, and he's going to be like, you know, he's going to pass out. So That's the thing. Chief is a great support piece, and he needed like mastermind fodder to sort of stay alive. Now, if you look at Chief for what he does now, he's really cheap for what he does, and he does a lot of great things. But at the same time, if you can't afford to put a bunch of 3-point pogs around and inflate his cost to keep him alive, then you might have some problems. So he might not work out for you. So let me try to think of another figure, preferably one that's not from Crisis, since I seem to highlight those figures a bit. And preferably not DC, so I need to think Marvel here. Dang it. I don't want to do Original Gladiator because that one's bad. Gosh. I come to think about it, a lot of the figures that I mainly retrofit are using DC. That is sort of funny. Okay, so let's think about it. Secret Invasion Doctor Strange. You can look him up. Secret Invasion Doctor Strange is great for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, he has defend and 18 defense. Now, while 18 defense back in the day was, oh my gosh, he has 18 defense. 18 defense now is like, oh, okay, you have 18 defense. So that's mainly because of cost inflation and attack inflation. But the cool thing about Doctor Strange is that he's one of the few characters that you can build tank tech around. And you know how we have the Green Lantern tank? You just say, like, I surround him full of people, and I just have him shoot. Because he ignores characters for line of fire. He doesn't have sharpshooter. He doesn't have improved targeting. He just ignores characters for a line of fire. And he can just shoot characters in stealth. It's just, boom. Gotcha. So, when you look at him, you notice one thing in particular. He has no movement attack. He has a super perplex, allowing him the chance to get +2 stats off on him or any of his friends. And then he has very, very solid attack values for his first few clicks. So add that in with the Spider-Man TA and you have something very awesome. Now, most people will look at that Doctor Strange and be like, well, it's sort of cool, but why do I really need that Doctor Strange? And I would say, okay, let's take it a little bit forward and look to a modern piece. You can start to tell, like, the figures that I use in my mindset. Okay, so let's look at Hired Henchmen. Hired Henchmen. And I touted him as one of the best support pieces in the game right now because, you know, 8 attack and like 14 defense defend is pretty good. Just is. Now, you team him up with a Moria McTaggart, you have pretty much like guaranteed awesome healing. But if you look at that, you're able to use defend in a different manner than just healing. You're able to defend chain. So you're able to chain your 18 defense from Doctor Strange onto other characters. Now, let's say on top of that, let's say we go real classic. And again, I am a proprietor of Black HeroClix and meta pieces, but primarily Black HeroClix. We have Jakeem Thunder. Yeah, I got Jakeem Thunder. And just to sort of bring it up, I got Jakeem Thunder when he came out. And my friend Kevin knows my propriety of Black HeroClix, and he pulled Jakeem Thunder and I didn't. And he milked it for all it's worth for me to get Jakeem Thunder. He really did. Still my friend, but I do remember. So anyway, Jakeem Thunder has a 19D, I think on click 2. I think he starts off with like a 18 defend and prob. Yeah, and then goes to a 19 defend and quake and perplex, yeah. So if you need the prob, then yeah, keep him on the 18, but it's sort of pointless. You just push him once, get him on the 19, really tick off your friends. So you have Jakeem Thunder that now is giving your whole crew a 19D. And that's great. That's real great. And why is this great? Because let's say you don't want to do Ant-Man and Phoenix Force Defenders tech. let's say you don't want to do that. You want to you just want to play Power Battery. When it comes out, you want to play Power Battery. Then what that would allow you to do is say, hey, I can use these other options. Even though this Ant-Man combo would give me a higher D, I want to use a different resource because I have these different elements in my team design. So that's something very, very important to really think about. It's like, okay, where's my team design going? Do I need to, is it worth me, using a resource to do this shenanigan so I can do X, Y, and Z? So that's a big thing. The next thing that I would say, since we're on resources, is, does this figure, now with a resource, do something more broken than when it first came out? Now, this is your research moment. These are your homework nights that you're like, I want to get better at clicks. I'm going to go read up on a set that was out before I started playing. That's what you do. And also tell you again, don't spend your time, like every night grinding out, like, oh, I am finally through Ultimates. I started at clobbering time. Don't, if you're at that stage, just stop. Just have fun, click through a set, and then, take a break for a day or two and then come back, and look at another set. Don't grind through that. But the main reason is you have characters like Ultimates Thor, for example. Ultimates Thor is quite expensive. Definitely for what's out in the meta right now, okay? At the same time, Ultimates Thor with the Infinity Gauntlet, Ultimates Thor with the Power Plant, Ultimates Thor with the Phoenix Force with Cyclops Shard. There's some things in life that shouldn't exist, and they do, because of Golden Age. Because of Golden Age. But let's look at like Ultimates Thor with Phoenix Force Shard, because we can. And I know that for some of you might be like, man, I hated that piece so much, and I would be right there with you. And then I got one. So yeah, that's how my tune changed real quick. So I went and bought one. Now, unfortunately, I bought mine back in the day when he was worth $50. Yeah, he was worth $50. So, yeah. So let's just say I've put in my time and my money. So eventually I need to like play him a little bit more. Okay, so let's start off. All right, Ultimates Thor currently, according to HC Realms, is worth about $16, which is rather cheap. It's really, really, really cheap. But he's worth about $16. And all right, so if we look closely, like we have that 12 attack, 16 defense. That 16 defense is horrible. Now, no, back in the day, 16 defense was like, all right, he was average. Okay. Now, 16 defense is like, please punch me. Please punch me so hard. And with all the penetrating damage and whatnot, he's not that good. Now, let's go back to all that super awesome fun time, defending tech that we were just talking about. Okay, I can get Ant-Man with my Phoenix Force, new Ant-Man. Now I have a 20 defense, okay, using defend, and Thor doesn't need invulnerability. Ant-Man does, so I can give Ant-Man the shard, okay, and Thor could just use Cyclops' shard. So now I have 12 attack, 16 defense, but it's going to be defended up to a 20, and 5 damage with range combat expert, and 10 range and Ultimate's team ability. So how boss is that? Now you might say 186 points, Dark Logos, that's a little high. For 10 clicks of life, and my defense goes down to a 12 on my last click. And not only that, if I need to heal, I can just use my base defense values, and just about every medic in the game right now can be like, oh, I can hit that. That's not a problem. I don't even think Night Nurse would have a problem hitting some of these defenses. So, when we're looking at it, we're just looking at it, we can see like, oh wow, retrofitting my collection with the Ultimate Store would be good, and definitely in games above 500 points, I can use these combos and he can be very potent on my force. Just can. Now you might say like, but Dark Logos, I'm in the venue where Highfather pops up all the time. Okay, Highfather pops up all the time. If you have a bigger point game, then ask yourself, has Highfather been popping up if I have a game over 500 points? If so, then you might want to reevaluate some stuff. Start pulling out Cosmic Spider-Man and go by him and annoy your opponents that way. Because Cosmic Spider-Man can shoot through just too much stuff. He can shoot through too much stuff and not destroy it. That's where Cosmic Spider-Man has a problem. He's just like, yeah, I just shoot you from inside the tank. Just going to do that. So, there you go. We have our framework, we have a basis, and then we can sort of move on. The next thing that you really want to start looking at with your assessment is what functional holes are you missing in your collection? If you look in your collection, you can say like, man, I really pull a bunch of mid-range attackers and a lot of support pieces. Then you might want to think like, yeah, Ultimate Store. Oh man, I really could use that. Tiamat, I can use that. Old School Gladiator from Mutant Mayhem, I could use that. Count Nefaria, I can use that. There's figures that you can sort of go back into your head and say, okay, I remember looking at that on HC Realms, and I can use that. For players that have been playing a while, it's more of not necessarily collecting, but just going in and saying, all right, this keyword is popular. I really want to play that keyword. What figures do I not have that would expand my use of this keyword or counter of that popular keyword? So let's say, for example, right now, where you're at, Avengers and X-Men are the two most popular keywords out there right now. Okay, maybe even Legion of Superheroes. All right, so if we go, let's look for Legion of Superheroes. So, okay, so let's look at our slosh set as it loads. Then we scroll down, and I think it's like Ultimatum, or not Ultimatum, like Universo, or yeah, Universo. Here we go, Universo number 41. I think Universo can use mind control as if he had 3 targets. When he does, increase his attack value by +1 by the number of targets, and after actions resolve, heal him of 1 damage for each character with the Legion of Superheroes keyword he hit with that attack. So that's pretty cool. Now let's look at what keywords he has. Yes, Future, Cosmic, Legion of Supervillains. So let's click on Legion of Supervillains right now. So if we scroll down, we see that we have some in Arkham Asylum and Earthman in Superman set. So we can look at that and we're like, it would be thematic, it would be correct to play a Legion of Supervillains team, but I don't think that this would be a good idea. Okay, even though you have Valdis and Mordu and Emerald Empress, you're just like, no, I'm not really feeling that. So then I can click on Cosmic. Okay. And the main reason I'm not clicking on Future, because Future historically has not been that awesome. It has its moments, but it hasn't been that awesome. So then when I look at Cosmic, I'm like, oh wow, I have Tiamat, I have X-23, I have Odin from the Thor in the Dark World. So let's scoop on down to some retired sets and see, oh, okay, cool, I have Quasar. That's pretty cool. I can build around that. I have Vulcan, which is okay. Novar, Doppelganger, Cosmic Spider-Man. Let's keep going. Hammer of Thor, Beta Ray Bill. Ultron from Hammer of Thor. Let's see. Gamora from Secret Invasion. Galactus. Silver Surfer from Supernova. The Vet. Which, it doesn't make sense. All of his versions should have Cosmic, but... oh well. Keep scrolling down. We can see... Phoenix from Ultimates used to be like one of the prime characters to use. Just because she had Pulse Wave. You would like TK her out, she would Pulse Wave people for 3. Or do Ranged Combat Expert. She was really, really good. Now, not so much. But for 86 points, like you might actually, I think actually, she's one of those figures that if you go back there and get, you just make sure that you have, you know, a way of giving her like defend. And then you're golden. But yeah, she's pretty good. And she doesn't have the Phoenix Force keyword, so. But all those older characters, you can always like retrofit them keywords if you wanted to. But anyway, keep going down. There's not so much cosmic in DC, which is sort of surprising, considering how cosmic their universe is. So there is from DC 75th, you have access to Dominators, and they're okay. They have enhancement, and yeah, I'll just say they're okay. You have Ganthet, which a lot of people might say like he's overcosted, but Ganthet is a lot of fun, really. He really is a lot of fun, and definitely if you can catch somebody off guard with giving Ganthet a hammer and then just running shotting out and then having him use Pulse Wave. That's the real fun. Icons, rookie Darkseid. I don't fully agree with why he should have well, he has Cosmic, but I don't think he holds up anymore. Even though his 9 attack 4 damage yells like give me a hammer with a 10 attack. 10 range and 9 attack, end phasing and 12 move. Yeah, actually just give him a hammer. Like it's like the Dark Logo's solution. Give them a hammer. Yeah, if you just give him a hammer, he's going to be fine. Yeah, so overall, as you can sort of see, like if I look at that Cosmic keyword, it brings me up more options, gives me a lot more to work with, and more importantly, it puts me in a position where I can say like, all right, I can still have Universo, and he solves for my Legion of Superheroes problem in my local meta. But on top of that, I'm able to go back, pull out these other characters, which my opponents may not know how to deal with. So let's go back and look at that Darkseid for a moment, okay? 141 points, 10 range. Now, most people, what have we been dealing with outwit ranges at? 6. Now you have a 10 range outwit. Your opponent isn't expecting that. Okay, what else? He has super strength. Not really expecting Darkseid with super strength. All right, now if they look at his base attack, even if they know that he has a hammer, they're not going to really pay attention to that. Nor are they going to pay attention to that 12 movement phasing. But when you say, hey, I give him a hammer, now he has 11 attack, now he has running shot, now he has Endom, okay? That 141 point piece has become a monster. Because you can outwit from 10 out, shoot them where you're at 11 range, or you can running shot, take your shot. Once you take your shot, you're then able to say, hey, guess what? I'm going to outwit that guy way down there. And your opponent's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, yes, I can because I have a 10 range. So then all of a sudden the game and the tempo changes for you. And you might say, well, the defense values suck, Dark Logos. It's like, bring a medic. Bring a medic. And run his happy butt back to the medic. Pure and simple. And if we look at Darkseid's damage values, it's 4, 4, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3. That's pretty good. Heck, it beats out most clicks nowadays. Where's his problem? His attack values. What does the hammer solve for? His attack values. What's his highest attack values? Well, when he gets a 10 attack and Psychic Blast. All right, well, guess what? I'll have a 12 attack and Psychic Blast. Bam, there we go. Problem solved. So, a lot of people might say, Vet Dark Side's where it's at. Just sticking with the cosmic theme, homie. Just sticking with the cosmic theme. All right, I hope that this episode has been helpful. Like I said on the blog post, I'm a bit burnt on the clicks, just a tad. I don't even know if I should announce that yet. I'm not going to announce that yet. But needless to say, I've been working on some tech, and I've been trying to see how broken Copycat is, and then how broken a couple other things in the meta are right now. Particularly Black Talon. There's some questionable things with Black Talon that I'm like, does this play out? Mainly because of my experiences recently with him, I'm starting to wonder. I'm like, okay, how abusive can I get, and how abusive is he? Definitely if you miss your mind control. If you miss your mind control, you're in trouble, like big time. I don't think people understand how crucial a lot of the meta use with him is revolving around the fact that he needs to land his mind control. And okay, here's what I'll do. I'll let part of the cat out of the bag, and most of this has been on the realms already. So pretty much I was using Black Talon with Armin Zola, and I think I even talked about this last week. And I've been experimenting with various attackers in non-300 point games. Non-300 point. So it's above 300 points. Okay, so I'm not even going to say that, oh yeah, this is really good 300 point tech. It's not. Because your attackers can... No, it's not. Anyway, but the main concept with Armin Zola was that with Armin Zola, it would give me the ability and the option to mind control multiple figures with the same name and have them do several actions. So pretty much what I would do is have Black Talon do the mind control on I would produce a Gwen Stacy Pog, have Black Talon mind control Armin Zola, have Armin Zola do a power action to generate another Gwen Stacy Pog, and then in the same turn he does a double power action because we're outside of mind control world, to generate a third Gwen Stacy Pog. That would get him on click 2. Well, what I've sort of determined was, even with 3 Pogs for Mastermind Fodder and Perplex, it really wasn't worth it, and then I can just sort of just skip all that silliness and go straight to using Blind Owl, and use Blind Owl to like just judo flip Armin Zola outside the starting area, and then he's on click 2, and it just works a lot better. It just does. So what I was somewhat looking at was like, okay, what type of attackers and what sort of silliness, could I really do? And what ended up coming out in my playtesting and in my last tournament was the following. Everything is hyper effective if you're able to hit with Black Talon. And you do need a medic because he takes attrition real fast. Real fast. Okay? And definitely if you're using Electro Blast Ring, he takes attrition real fast. And so you go with this 10 attack, it's awesome, it's great, and you have to hit a 17 and you roll and you get a 6, you go from hyper effective to what is this? And your tempo is so thrown off. Now, a lot of people might say, well, yeah, duh, we sort of knew this because we've been playing Tony Stark. Well, most people hadn't been playing Tony Stark, and unfortunately, I didn't have the leeway to do so. In looking at Black Talon, my concern comes in is once you get off that 10 click and you start going to 9s, if you don't have a medic or means to heal Black Talon, you are looking at an early game burst if he's mind controlling characters of 150 points or more. If he's not mind controlling characters of 150 points or more, or a total of 150 points or more, again, Electro Blast Ring, that's the reason I said total, then it can be interesting, but the problem still comes in. For your offense to be hyper effective, you have to do it just about every turn. And this is where I think Brother Voodoo's mind control sort of got us on mind control crack. Is that Brother Voodoo's mind control can happen if you play it right every turn. It's just like boom, boom, boom. I target you, boom, target you. All right, let's keep this going, keep this going, keep this going. Okay. Whereas Black Talon, on the other hand, he creates a situation where if you decide to push, you need to be creating a situation of hyper aggro. I really do mean it. You have to generate hyper aggro, because if you don't, the odds of you continuing your tempo, it's just gone. I mean, yeah, you're going to say like, oh, 9 attack, yeah. But if you're at a 9 attack and your average defense, which you want, is an 18, there's problems. So when we look back at, Mole Man gets +3 to his mind control against monsters. Oh, okay, Mole Man. And he has a 9 attack, but technically he has a 12 for mind control against monsters. That's huge. That's huge. So when we really think about that and how it translates back to Black Talon, I am questioning if Black Talon is going to be a sufficient replacement for Mole Man. Because again, for your Mole Man teams, if you're running Black Talon, you have to have that mind control hit. If that mind control doesn't hit, what then? And real quick, because I know Shuma's cosmic. Shuma's opening defense is, I think it's an 18. It's an 18. Yeah, it's an 18. So you're talking about a 10 on an 18 that needs to hit. And you might not have a built-in prob, or actually, no, you have a built-in prob because, yeah, Shuma has prob. So you have to use your Shuma prob if you miss, instead of your Shuma prob on his attack. So there are some questionable things right now that we really need to be mindful of, like, you know, hey, with Black Talon. But anyway, so I was mind controlling Black Talon, using mind control with Black Talon to mind control Armanzola, so that Armanzola can go mind control 3 other targets, so that I could do ridiculous amounts of damage in a turn. Because I know you have damage depreciation now, but when you have characters with flurry and you use that first mind control to just say move your full movement, and they move their full 10 movement or 12 movement, and then you're like, as a normal action, flurry. Like, that is really strong. Really strong. Now, with Armanzola's case, how often are you getting that off? Not in 300, not often. And even as you scale upward, it becomes more and more difficult. You're really starting it off at, oh gosh, I've been play testing around 600, but it's still good tech. I think it's just a very good high point tech. But anyway, Black Talon, and I know like this should have been like a third topic. Dark Logos' thought on Black Talon, his pontifications on a hyper-aggressive meta and tempo. But really, that's what it comes down to, is that Black Talon, if he hits, creates a hyper-aggressive tempo that really is hard to stop. If he misses, you're dealing with the inconsistent tempo, which allows your opponent to do a very strong counter. And if they do that very strong counter, you could lose the game or be at a massive disadvantage. Okay. Woo! Woo! This has gone way longer than I thought. All right. So, thank y'all for listening. You can follow me on Twitter. It came from outer space and said, hey, I could do a little two-step too. If you follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod, I messed that up. I need to. This thing about video, you just can't be like, okay, click, redo. Anyway, you can follow me on Twitter. You can at StartOverPod. You can find my random musings, ask me questions, stuff like that. Give me show ideas, stuff like that. Anyway, you can also email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Pretty much tell me what your thoughts are about War of Light. We've seen all of the lanterns. We've seen all the primary core members, I think. So what's your thoughts? What do you think this is going to turn out to be like? Do you think this is going to be awesome or the suck? Let me know. Let me know. All right, and last but not least, you can check out the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. You can go over there and donate to the show. Yeah, donate to the show. Everything goes toward prize support and, not prize support, giveaways and HCO codes and other cool stuff that I do for you, the listeners. I am probably going to have to find another option that I can attach a camera to make recordings and then upload. I don't want to use a camera phone. And the GoPro did not pan out the way I wanted it to. And I'm also having some minor technical issues too with it. So what I'm trying to figure out is, you all need to tell me what my next tech buy should be, because I need something that will record video and audio and does decent audio. Now note, you all are going to have to listen to it, okay? Because I'm not going to go back through and do an audio track, which is part of my problem with this, is that in part I have to go back through and do an audio track, and then my laptop right now, I gave my, this shows you like family. I gave my good laptop to a family member of mine so that she could use it since her computer died. And my bad laptop, it can randomly freeze. So if I'm 30 minutes in and it just, then I'm sort of screwed. And I have to start all over again. The joke. So anyway, sort of going back, tell me what you think I should buy. Should I buy a tablet? You know, another piece of media, a small hand camcorder or something that has, you know, USB hookup. If you give recommendations, email me. Don't put it in the comments. Just email me. Okay? And then also sort of let me know price range. And if you see it on like Amazon, don't give me like local Bob guy here is selling it for $20. Like if it's not within the greater Kansas City area, I'm sorry. I won't get to it. Okay? And I don't feel comfortable. I love y'all. I don't feel comfortable being like, here's $100 I've raised between the quarry and this show. Please go buy this for me. You know, I'm not, no, not that comfortable. Okay. So again, email me your tech ideas, startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. In addition to your thoughts on War of Light. Also, some silly person has put a brick of War of Light up on eBay, and watch that person get banned from eBay with the quickness. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening and watching now. I am your host, Dark Logos. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.